Hello and welcome to What's on the Shelf. I'm your host Jen, and today on Before the Box we have my colleague here. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Rachael Blaske. I'm the CEO of Poketto, formerly known as 524 Labs.
Awesome. Can you tell us about anything you're currently working on or what's coming up for you?
Well, we've had a big shakeup. We actually were 524 Labs up until about a week ago, and we are in the excitement of a rebrand right now. So that's kind of where most of my focus is going, is trying to tell people all about the excitement that we have coming up. Right now, we are in the process of fulfilling 2 Kickstarter campaigns, one for Mint Cooperative and one for Mint Control. And this week, we are announcing something else upcoming.
Ooh, so we'll have to keep an eye out for that.
Mhm.
So, what was your first experience in board gaming?
Well, in board gaming, I actually am a little late to the hobby. My husband was the one who kind of caught the bug with Catan. He probably, I don't know, I think 7, 8 years ago, we started to getting into hobby board gaming, and about 5 years ago, we adopted 3 kids, and so there was a good chunk of time where I was not able to focus on any hobbies. I was simply trying to mom as much as possible. So I was out of the picture while he was digging into things like Alien Frontiers and Dominion and all of the things that he went down the rabbit hole with. And about Mint Delivery, which was our second campaign, he was just trying to keep his head above water with a full-time job, a full family, and trying to publish games. And I thought, hey, I can help.
Awesome. So, did you have a different career before you started into the game industry?
Uh, I've had a lot of different careers. I'm kind of a chameleon like that. I like to dive into whatever it is and do it really, really well. So I would say my favorite jobs before this were being a substitute teacher. I love that. I really, really enjoy being able to pop in, do something really fun, and then walk away at the end of the day. And then also, I, for about 5 years, worked as an exchange student coordinator. And I was able to do some really fun stuff where I traveled abroad quite a bit, learning about the kids' cultures so that way I could be a better representative for them here and help with conflict resolution and event management. I was the person who was looking to find homes for everybody, and it definitely was a fun it was a fun combination of being a teacher and a marketer, because we like to joke I was selling children, but I wasn't, because you don't have to pay. So it was just a lot of fun. I like to create major memories, and so that kind of has moved over into this new niche for me.
Awesome. So, for a newcomer coming to the industry, do you have any advice on how to break into the industry from your experiences?
Oh my goodness. I feel like Justin put in so much hard work. He put in the time to get his name out there. And by the time I came along, I felt like he had walked up to the doors and I just had to open them. It was definitely not your typical entry into the industry, but I've put a lot of work into continuing and trying to foster relationships that help everything to continue.
So, from your experience, what has been the hardest part of your job?
Work-life balance. I am horrible at it. I am one of those people that likes to jump in with both feet and have. I feel like my job is fun, and it's really easy to overcommit myself and get really, really into it. And that is not the healthiest thing that you can do, especially when you're working from home and especially when everybody else is stuck in the same house with you and you're, in the midst of quarantine. It's just been not my best. It's definitely one of my weaknesses.
So, at the end of the day, what was one of your favorite moments from your career so far?
Oh my goodness. Today, honestly, this is the weirdest thing, right? But uh Mint Cooperative, the campaign that is about to fulfill, it was my first big campaign that I did myself. And it's tonight I got to see a whole bunch of pictures of the finished printed product that's about to get on the boat. And I got really emotional. I felt like this is something that I poured my blood, sweat, and tears into. And it's been a really long road because of COVID and having all of these major issues that have pushed things back and back. And I started to doubt myself and I started to really feel like I was letting people down. And tonight I got to see some of the pictures and I am so happy. Like I was on the edge of tears. I was just like, this is the coolest thing ever. So, I mean, other people that have made games, they get to feel that feeling when they get to see it, but this is my first big one.
Awesome. So, is there anything in particular that you've worked on project wise that you wish you had done differently at this point?
Oh my gosh. That's a great question. I have so many immediate answers and they're all fighting each other. Hang on. Um Gosh, things that I would redo or do differently. There's just a litany of them. I would say that. Sorry, I'm going to think about this.
No problem. We can come back to this question if you like.
There's just. Let's come back to it so that way I can think.
No problem. So can you take us through a day in your career right now?
Oh my goodness. So right now, I'm working from home as always. My kids are currently going to school through Zoom. And I have 4 kids that have special needs. So my day doesn't really start until 3 o'clock. Because I am sitting there watching them and making sure that they are doing what they need to do and connecting with the teachers, because it's a very different, weird, technological craziness of Zoom school now. And I have a kiddo who would be very, very happy to never log in. So I have to just be on him. But I try as they're doing their stuff to sit at the table, keeping an eye on them and do some just busy work on the computer, connecting with different people. And then usually around 3 o'clock, I can start taking calls, connecting with different people in media or manufacturing and figuring out where everything's at within the different departments. And I usually try to hang out with the kids for a little bit. And then at night, I come down and it's just head down, get everything done and go. It's hard till midnight and then crash and get up and do it all again at 6:30. So it's definitely a very different kind of schedule than the 9 to 5 that everybody dreams of.
So, when you're working on a project, do you end up doing some of the playtests with the designers as well?
I have done just about everything. I have taken pitches. I have developed some of the pitches before we, decided what we were going to keep or what we weren't. I've gone through and organized playtesting, attended playtesting, done some playtesting, done a lot of the communication, compiling data from remote playtests, and then transferring that back to designers and developers to, incorporate that. Then, operations, it just goes on. Like, I think I've sat in every single seat now, from operations to manufacturing to marketing and just all of it.
So, you're heading off of this new company, well, the rebranding of the company. What's been one of the things that you're trying to get people to see a lot of right now with the rebranding?
Can you repeat that? It cut out.
Um, what are you, with the new rebranding of the company and everything like that? What's your marketing strategy? You were saying that you've got 2 Kickstarters coming to fruition and going to backers and so on and so forth. But is there something else that's coming up for the rebranding? Are you doing Twitch? Are you doing Instagram, Twitter? Are you on all those channels as well for social media at this point?
Absolutely. And we were with the rebranding, you're able to within many of the platforms rename your username and not lose your followers and things like that. So we're just in the process of going through the rebrand, and we've got a checklist. We're like, okay, have we switched over on Instagram? Have we switched over on Twitter? Have we switched over on Facebook? And we're just in the process of doing that. We wanted to be able to come out with a bit of a bang after we announced Poketto. And I know that this week they're in the process of preparing. In the process of preparing, that makes it sound very convoluted. They are getting everybody ready to announce. They were supposed to do it this week, and we wanted to make sure that everything was on the boat before we go into any kind of new campaign. And I want to make sure I've seen all of the pictures that they're done, but I want to hear that it's on the boat before we say anything. So I asked them to hold the announcements until I heard for sure that we were at the dock.
No, for sure. Completely understand that. So, with marketing and stuff like that, could you go through some of the strategies that you would suggest people that are either doing their first campaign or looking to potentially go into this career? Is there anything that you could give us pointers on?
Oh my gosh, there's so much research that I did. I mean, I have so many resources that I read and reread, and just uh there are amazing people out there that are writing about this all the time. I know that from the Mintworks campaign, it's a bit dated now because everything moves at the speed of light when with Kickstarter. Everything is always changing, and the overall industry temperature, changes really quickly. But right now, like, we used the crowdfunding. Jamie Stegmaier's book, Crowdfunder's Strategy, I think. Something to that effect. The Mintworks campaign was patterned off of that. And that, I felt like, really contributed to its success. And then also, I've done a ton of reading into James Matthews' blog and BrandonTheGameDev.com. He has amazing stuff that he puts out. Board Game Design Lab. They just ran a Kickstarter for a Kickstarter advice book, and it's fantastic. I have read through a lot of it, and I bought extra copies to give out to designers locally. I do a designers group here, and I just want everybody to be as prepared as possible because it's kind of a beast. And I've done some teaching on Kickstarter at the local level here, and talked a lot about timelines and how anything that you're doing, you need a long runway to be able to get out into the community and start talking and being present and making a name for yourself, and because people want to support their friends, and you've got to be a part of the community to establish that.
No, that's completely understandable. So, on average, how long does it take you to get the game that you were working on to the final product in the box? Could you give us a little bit of a timeline for that?
Well, in a perfect world, it can move a lot faster than it has in the last year. I would say that when we go to Kickstarter, I try really hard to have it at 75-80%. So it's just in the last final stages of finishing out the card design and getting ready to go. Something that kind of added to our timeline that we hadn't really anticipated was this is uh, the first Mint game that has quite a few foreign translations. We had a lot of interest in international licensing partners, and so we have several languages, and that added some time. We had to be able to send out the card specs to everyone along with all of the translatable text, and then it had to come back, and we ended up dealing with some graphic design issues. There's a lot of things that were small bits that contributed to a longer timeline in this last project. But for example, Mint Control, it was in March, and I would say it's probably a month and a half to 2 months behind Mint Cooperative in terms of production, because Mint Cooperative had all of these other little pieces that we then worked out for Mint Control. So it's a much smoother process.
Mm-hmm.
So
Awesome. So, when you're marketing a game and you're getting it out to the public and everything like that, do you use a lot of resources like Facebook groups, or BBG? How have you been able to build a community for marketing purposes?
so we during the Mint Cooperative campaign pushed really hard on some social media goals. And I really loved that started to build a community for us. We already had some throughout from the earlier Kickstarter campaigns that we'd run. We had a decent email list where people who had bought our prior products wanted to keep in touch and see if we had anything new coming out. With the Mint Cooperative campaign, we pushed really hard to have Kickstarter followers so people knew when we would go live again. People joined the Mint Series Facebook group, and we have over 1,200 in there. So that way we can continue to have daily interactions there. Kickstarter Updates is another place where you can connect with your backers, and we love our Discord community, and I keep pushing to get more and more people involved there. It's definitely where I kind of hang out, and it's more of a chill family vibe in our Discord server. It's just hanging out and talking about your day. It's not you have to only speak about the games or whatever. It's very relaxed.
And can we find these links anywhere in particular? Is it on your website as well for the Discord and that?
The Discord server, we usually have all of these things on the Kickstarter pages. So if somebody wanted to find those, they can just go to Kickstarter and look at the either Mint Control or Mint Cooperative or something like that. But right now we're in the process of relaunching the website, so I don't have everything up right now. Usually we have the mintseries.com or mintseries.com, and so everything's kind of in flux right now. You can always find us right now. It's Poketto Games on Instagram. It's Facebook. I'm trying to it used to be facebook.com/524labs, but I'm pretty sure that it's facebook.com/Poketto now. But I'd have to double check on that. We're still
We'll
working
make
those
sure
out.
all the links are in the details below for sure.
Sure.
So, when it comes to ratio of games that you've seen come in or pitched to you, what actually makes it to the shelf versus what's still being developed at this point?
Oh
Or
my
maybe
goodness.
what you would have put on the back burner because it just didn't have the right audience, or didn't have, it wasn't completed enough to actually push forward with a campaign.
So we've been primarily producing our own stuff. Like Justin was our in-house designer. And then Mint Cooperative, we did accept a design from Jonathan Gilmore and Brian Lewis from Dinosaur Island. And that was a really different experience for us to be able to work with a different designer. We really are just now opening the floodgates, and we're like, okay, look at all of these different amazing designs that we have access to, and we're trying to decide what is a good look for where we want to go. And really, we're keeping to the affordable small box that has a huge game in it. You know what I mean? The if in and it doesn't just have, you know, like cards. It's like, okay, this has something extra in it, you know? When it's smart but simple, and there's a lot of good design. Okay. We're really trying to focus on bringing small games that are charming but really clever. And when we do that, uh, it's just amazing to see all the different options that we have. And right now, we have a pipeline that is jam packed that we are probably a couple years out on, just because we've had such a flood of great designs. Right now, we are starting to adopt, I mean, at least the next couple Kickstarters, a uh, a strategy of bringing 3 games per Kickstarter.
Ooh, that sounds very interesting. And I like,
Yeah.
I've seen your designs. I love how everything fits so small in a box. It makes me think of a TARDIS. I'm a Doctor Who fan. So it's always
Yes.
bigger on the inside.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a massive game on the inside, but it's living space.
When you're working towards marketing and that, how has Kickstarter helped create your games at this point?
Oh, it, we wouldn't have them without it. It's just not, we're not at the scale that we could do anything front loaded like that yet. It is absolutely, every single person makes a huge difference. Every backer uh, makes a difference as to what we can do and what we can't. So it's pretty crucial.
So, have you found that Kickstarter has changed the gaming scene when it comes to independent developers producing their stuff? Or do you think it might be hindering because now bigger companies are also using it as well?
I would say that there is a new kind of expectation that Kickstarter is a little bit of a pre-order platform, and people don't realize that it really is a make it or break it for a lot of companies. Because there are some larger companies on there that aren't in the make it or break it. They're maybe 25% of what they earn on Kickstarter is part of their overall revenue. That's not the standard. That's not the typical. That is the mega giants that, you know, also are important to Kickstarter because they bring a lot of volume to the platform. Without those type of giants, then we wouldn't necessarily get the overall visibility because they're drawing them in. There's pros and cons to the model. So I think that I've seen a lot of really cool indie first timers blow up. And I mean, Mintworks was one of them. And I think that it still can be the dream, even though you definitely have a different type of environment than it was, you know, 3, 4, 5 years ago.
So, when you're getting ready to go to a Kickstarter, is there any like particular order of things that you would use to get your community ready for the Kickstarter itself? Would you do more of a daily updates leading up to it, or teasers? Is there any kind of marketing strategy that you could talk about at this point about that kind of thing?
Oh, absolutely. It kind of goes back to my timeline. Usually about a month before, I craft a full social media calendar where I can explain a little bit about the game every day. Probably a week or two before I start to drop some previews. I try to have a couple that are early, uh, and are willing to be dropped early. Some of the bigger ones that have the most viewership, I usually will save for the day of, because once somebody sees it, then you want them to be able to go and uh, have an action because of it.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to save those up for that immediate gratification of being able to back right away. Um, there is lots of continued discussion and promotion throughout the campaign, trying to keep it on the top of everybody's brain throughout that mid campaign slump. And then of course you've got your last 48 where everybody comes flooding back in, and you try to push at the very end as well.
Awesome. So if we were in a normal year, say we're back in 2019,
Ooh.
um,
Ah.
yeah, the golden year where we
All
thought it was
right.
bad and then it got
Miss
worse.
you. Yeah, I know, right?
So, if we were going back a year and it was conventions were on and everything like that, for a marketing standpoint, how do you market for like a booth and stuff like that? Have you gone into that kind of detail with the company?
Oh, absolutely. We were at Origins and Gen Con and PAX Unplugged last year, and a lot of my job at those, we have people demoing at the booth and stuff, but like my calendar gets jam packed with demos to media. There's so many that come by the booth and they want to be able to see the new hotness and talk to their viewers about it. And so I try to, that's kind of where my focus is. I make sure that I do um a good job of showing what we have coming up to the people who want to share that with their viewers.
Awesome. And during a convention, is there anything in particular that you take away from it as well? Even though it's a final product, or maybe it might be doing play tests or something like that, do you find that the information you get from those people, does it add to your game or change potentially some of the development of the games?
Oh, well, usually what we're showing at at a convention is either the prototype that is like at 75 to 80%, and we've just got stretch goals that we're going to hopefully hit at an upcoming campaign, or it's something that's already been um, kickstarted and promoted. So it's usually past the point of playtesting when we're doing that. And if anybody has any amazing, stuff that they pitch in during a demo or during a playthrough, then obviously we hear everything, but it's not usually what the look is for that convention. That's not the goal.
All right. And just to go back to the question we were talking about earlier, if there was something in particular that you could change on a project you did previously, have you had a moment to think about that?
Yeah, when I was working on a campaign for a non-mint project, that was in April of 2019. April of 2019. Um, we had tried to break out and do a non-mint project, and it was pretty stunning to see how our audience was not on board with it. I felt like I did a good job on my timeline. I felt like I had a great looking page. I felt like there was a lot of things that I did right, but even when I felt like I did the right things, I was able to reach out to a lot of people who know better than me. And they pointed out little things that I could fix, little, tweaks to the page. You need a call to action here. Just all the way down to as they're scrolling, what can they see across the page? And um, And building trust in my brand is super important. And that's why I think that the rebrand is also key in us trying to show that we can do other things.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably one of those moments where it scared me because we had a great game and we weren't able to sell it because it wasn't in our niche. And we continue to prove that we can do our niche. And I think this is the moment where we want to break out and say, look, we've got other designs that are amazing and need to see the light of day. And I think that you guys know that we can handle this, and we know we can handle this. And so this is kind of our moment that we want to, you know, take a moment in the spotlight to say, hey, this is something that's gonna be really great for games.
Awesome. So, is there any final words you'd like to add for the rebranding or anything coming up or anything we should be looking out for other than that announcement you were talking about?
Well, to kind of cheat, there we did a soft announcement during Gen Con of the 3 games that are going to be coming out. We don't have a date on the Kickstarter. Like I said, I am really careful not to overcommit when it's been such a year of surprises. I mean, right now I think there's 2 hurricanes heading at the same time. I mean, like 2020 is bizarre. But I was able to do a little interview with each of the designers. One is a horror theme, which is way super cool. Totally something that we haven't touched before, and I'm absolutely in love with the gameplay on it, and it's super, super cool. It's called The Blessed Dark, and it's actually been published before. I was a backer of it on Kickstarter, and I got it and fell in love with it and called Nathan and asked if we could republish it because I didn't know if he was going to make it again. And then we also signed the winner of the Mint 10 Game Crafter contest. And that was Jason Greeno's Starforge, and it's super cool. It has laser cut acrylic pieces, which is a really fun new medium for us to be dealing with. The components are very different than what we're used to, and I'm super in love with it. I like that idea. And you're building spaceships, and it's really cool. And then the third one is not in a tin.
Ooh.
It's in a tuck box. It's little.
Oh, wow.
It's little. It's the coolest little duel game. It's called Castle Siege, and it's a brand new designer, his first design. And his name's Brian Stout. And it's tableless. You actually can hold it in your hand like this, and you're putting cards in between, building a castle, and you're like attacking the other person's castle and breaking pieces of it.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I can't wait to see more.
I know, it's so cool. And I also thought it was super cool. We have a new person that started as marketing, and her name's JoJo Bailey, and she actually just graduated with her illustrator's degree, and she did all of the art for Castle Siege.
Ooh, we'll definitely have to see if we can get a hold of her for an interview as well.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for the interview. We had a great time. I hope you had a great time, and we'll catch everyone else at the table. Bye.